All right, continuing on. This is Joel's 50 watt. It's the only 50 watt in the collection of the 7 amps that came in. And this is the best description, right? Here's my notes from the conversation. 1987, so that's the circuit, 50 watt. JMP. It's a 1979. Quote unquote, sounds like shit. Tour. Okay, so on the head shell, it had some gaffer tape with the green gaffer tape and a Sharpie. It says Tour on it. Now, I've had a moment to look at this amp, and I know why it sounds like shit. This was a plate-fed super bass circuit. I know these circuits now, so if anyone who's watched my channel and gone back and look at the videos, you'll know I've been through a few of these, right? Where the first one I encountered when I got it stock, I thought that it had been modded, whereas what I actually found out subsequently was Dan Gower that alerted me to it. There was a small time, or a small period of time, where Marshall were doing a 3-gain stage plate-fed tone stack and calling it a 1986 super bass, whereas most of the super basses before and after that were cathode follower, standard kind of Marshall, what we'd expect. And this thing has been half converted, right? Half converted into a cathode follower standard Marshall circuit. And when I first looked at it, I went, oh, okay, it's got a 0.68 bypass cap, a 2K7 here, 820 cathode for the bass channel, the 330, that all kind of looks pretty standard. And I was just going through and checking these resistors, right? As you've probably seen me do a bunch of times. Someone's put a fat cap, the 22 microfarad across the cathode resistor for this stage. And I looked at that and I went, oh, hang on, that's a 1K5 cathode. That's not standard. And then I had a look at this. This is our slope resistor, which in a lead spec amp is 33K and in a bass spec amp is 56. But, lead spec amp, 33K all day long. I was like, what the fuck? 229. And you can see it. It's a 220K resistor. That's what they had. That three gain stage plate fed tone stack it's a 220K resistor in there. So that's factory. So but you can see that the 100K 100K plate resistor has been put on here. And now we have V2B set up as a cathode follower. So this has been worked on to be converted into a cathode follower, but the job's only half done. So we still have a really weird EQ here with a 220K slope resistor. This treble cap here, which is for the treble pot, should be 500 picofarad. This is 10 nanofarad, right? So it's out by an order of magnitude and it's a different value. So it's way out. These two caps here, which are for middle and bass, they're actually correct. However, when you look at the pots, this is the bass, this is the mid, this is the treble. There should be 1 meg, and that's, for an amp of this age, that's about what you'd expect. They do drift a bit. This should be 25K. All right, it's 162. This should be 250K treble pot. That's 1 meg pot. All right. I remember when I converted a couple of these in the past, I had to change these pots out because in this weird EQ that they did in this plate-fed circuit, they were not using the standard Marshall values in here. So this thing is just half-baked. So this is going to be a reasonable job. I'm going to replace these pots. I'm going to have to flip the board up, get in underneath it, and change out a bunch of these components. Also, the filtering is all screwed up in that you'd normally have two 10K droppers here. This is for the B plus supply, and that isolates the B plus supply nodes for V1, V2, the phase inverter. This bridging here has bridged the phase inverter supply node into the cathode follower supply. Okay, so those are actually joined together. You can see if I measure the resistance between these 2 points, that's the phase inverter node there. It's 0 ohms, right? They're connected. I think when this is done, it's going to sound ripping, but at the moment, we'll have a listen to it, right? I've done the reamping on this. I've reamped that same old AC/DC riff that I've been doing on these series of videos through the amplifier for a before snapshot, and I'll do the same thing once the work is done. Here's something funny, guys. So I've actually put in changes, right, we talked about in this 50 watt JMP. Now, there's a 0.68 bypass cap here on the 2K7 cathode. This is for the high treble channel. And I've just tone tested this amp and I'm like, you know, it doesn't quite have the zing that I'd associate, you know, with a good sounding plexi. I'm measuring this guy with my LCR meter, this one right here. Can't get a reading on it. I was like, what the hell? Pulled the V1 tube out, still no reading. Now, look really closely at this thing. See where it's soldered. I'll show you underneath the board because I've got it tilted up here. Both legs of this cathode resistor are soldered to ground. Here's one leg, here's the other. Both of them are connected to that ground plane right there. And you can see on top, right, this leg here, it should be in here. Alright guys, just go through this real quick. New 0.68 here on the cathode, so that's now no longer ground to ground, it's ground to the actual cathode pin. That's what we want. I've leaned out the front end. In these super lead, lead spec style plexi circuits, I really prefer the 0.0022 coupler for the high treble channel. This had 0.022 on both the bass and the treble. If you like a fuller kind of bit more vintage fat sound, then the 0.022, 22 nanofarad on the treble channel is okay. But if you want something a bit tighter, a bit meaner, this leans out the bass and the preamp, keeps the amp tighter. I mean, personally, I'd much prefer it. So we've done that. Got rid of the silver mica that was there. This is a treble peaker on the mixer resistors, 470 picofarad. A new 470 here for the treble cap, which was the incorrect. I think in the initial run through I said 10 nanofarad. It was 1 nanofarad. So it was 1000 picofarad there, right? So now it's 470. 33k slope. We've now got a 10k dropper here on the B plus line, so that the filtering throughout the whole amp is now standard 50 watt Marshall lead spec. This is a 5000 picofarad or 5 nanofarad bright cap. This is the original one, right? So this is big tick to see this is still here. We had new pots put in. Okay, these were incorrect values. So new treble pot 250k linear, new mid pot 25k linear. The rest of this is pretty much unchanged. Yeah, so this is ready to, I'm going to reamp that loop through it, and we'll have a listen to how it's sounding now. If you're into DIY and modding, then head over to our DIY supply store over at EvolveDIY.com. And if you're ready for the real thing, then do check out our amps at headfirstamps.com. Links down in the description of the video.